What if the person you loved most, the one you thought you knew, inside and out, was hiding a secret so explosive it could tear your family apart? Picture a single piece of paper, a will, that turns your world upside down, revealing truths you never wanted to face. Welcome to Shocking Stories, where we uncover the dark corners of family secrets that'll leave you speechless. Today, we're diving into a tale about a grandmother's legacy that wasn't what it seemed, and a family pushed to the brink of collapse. Ready to find out what one sheet of paper can do? Let's go, because this story will make you question everything you know about your own family. Ever wonder what skeletons are hiding in your family tree? Her name was Sarah Miller, a 34-year-old school teacher living in a quiet suburb of Atlanta, Georgia. Sarah was close to her grandmother, Evelyn, a sharp-witted woman in her 80s who'd raised her after her parents' divorce. Evelyn was the heart of the Miller family. Her cozy home, 10 miles outside the city, was where everyone gathered for Sunday dinners, her stories about the old days keeping them glued to their seats. When Evelyn passed away peacefully in her sleep, Sarah was devastated but grateful for the memories. The family gathered at Evelyn's house to mourn, expecting her will to be straightforward. Split the estate, her house, some savings, and a few heirlooms between Sarah, her brother David, and their cousin Lisa. But when the lawyer arrived, a man with a nervous twitch and a thick folder, everything changed. The lawyer read the will in Evelyn's living room, the air heavy with grief. "To my grandchildren, Sarah, David, and Lisa," he began, "I leave my love and memories." That was it. No house, no savings, no jewelry. Instead, the entire estate, valued at over $500,000, was left to someone named Margaret Lane, a name none of them had ever heard. The room erupted. David, a 38-year-old mechanic with a temper, slammed his fist on the table. "Who the hell is Margaret Lane?" he shouted. Lisa, a 29-year-old nurse, burst into tears, feeling betrayed. Sarah just sat there, stunned, her mind racing. Evelyn had never mentioned anyone named Margaret. Was this a mistake? A scam? The lawyer, sweating now, handed them a sealed letter from Evelyn, addressed to the family. Sarah's hands shook as she opened it, hoping for answers. Instead, it was a single line. "Some truths are better left buried." What would you do if your family's legacy was handed to a stranger? Sarah couldn't let it go. She loved her grandmother, but this felt like a slap in the face. She started digging, starting with Evelyn's house. The family had 30 days before Margaret Lane could claim it, so Sarah spent every evening there, combing through drawers and closets. She found old photos, letters, and a locked diary hidden under a floorboard in Evelyn's bedroom. The diary was from the 1960s, filled with cryptic entries about a dangerous man and a promise I can't break. Sarah's heart raced as she read about late-night meetings in downtown Atlanta, a place called the Blue Orchid, a jazz club long since shuttered. Evelyn had written about someone named M, someone she feared but couldn't stay away from. Could this be Margaret? Sarah showed the diary to David and Lisa, but they were skeptical. "She was probably just writing stories," David said, though his voice wavered. Lisa, still hurt, refused to help, calling it a waste of time. Determined, Sarah tracked down an old neighbor, Mrs. Clara, who'd known Evelyn for decades. Clara, now in her 90s, lived in a nursing home 15 miles away. Her eyes clouded when Sarah mentioned the Blue Orchid. "Your grandma was wild back then," Clara said, her voice low. "She ran with a rough crowd, men you didn't cross." Clara hinted at a man named Vincent, someone powerful and dangerous, but clammed up when Sarah pressed for more. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep, her mind spinning with questions. Who was Vincent? And why had Evelyn left everything to a stranger? As she sat in her apartment staring at the diary, her phone rang. An unfamiliar voice, soft but cold, said, "Stop looking into Margaret Lane." The line went dead. Sarah's heart pounded. Someone was watching her. Ever get that feeling you're stirring up trouble you can't handle? Let's see where this leads. Imagine finding out your sweet, cookie-baking grandma had a secret life that could put you in danger. That's where Sarah was, clutching a diary full of cryptic clues, her phone still ringing in her ears from a stranger's warning. Welcome back to Shocking Stories, where we're unraveling a family mystery that's darker than anyone expected. You ready to dive deeper into this web of secrets? Because things are about to get intense. What would you do if you realized your family's past was hiding something sinister? Sarah's first instinct was to call David and Lisa, but David dismissed the mysterious call as a prank, and Lisa was still too angry to care. Sarah felt alone, but she couldn't stop. She started researching the Blue Orchid, finding old newspaper clippings online about Atlanta's jazz scene in the 1960s. The club was a hotspot for musicians, gamblers, and shady characters. One article mentioned a Vincent Russo, a local businessman with rumored ties to organized crime. Sarah's pulse quickened. Clara had mentioned a Vincent. She dug deeper, finding a grainy photo of a man in a sharp suit, his arm around a young woman who looked eerily like Evelyn. The caption didn't name her, but Sarah knew her grandmother's smile anywhere. Was this the dangerous man from the diary? Sarah decided to visit the site where the Blue Orchid once stood, now a parking lot in downtown Atlanta, about 5 miles from Evelyn's house. She stood there, clutching the diary, hoping for a clue. A homeless man nearby noticed her and shuffled over. "You looking for ghosts?" he asked, his voice raspy. Sarah, desperate, asked if he knew anything about the old club. He squinted at her, then at the diary. "People disappeared back then," he said. "Girls who got too close to the wrong men." He mentioned a woman named Maggie who used to sing at the club, someone who knew too much. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. Maggie, Margaret, could it be the same person? The man walked away before she could ask more, leaving her with more questions than answers. Back home, Sarah found a locked box in Evelyn's attic, tucked behind old Christmas decorations. It took her an hour to pry it open, revealing a stack of letters tied with a faded ribbon. They were from Vincent Russo to Evelyn, dated 1962 to 1965. The letters were intense, full of passion, but also warnings. Stay quiet, Evie, or we're both done. One letter mentioned a debt Evelyn had to pay, something tied to a job gone wrong. Sarah's mind raced. Had her grandmother been involved in something illegal? She called a friend, Jenna, a librarian with access to historical records. Jenna found a police report from 1964 about a robbery at a bank near the Blue Orchid. Vincent Russo was a suspect, but the case was dropped for lack of evidence. A witness, a young woman, had vanished before testifying. Sarah's stomach churned. Was that woman Margaret Lane? That night, Sarah got another call. This time the voice was angrier. "You're digging up graves, Sarah. You won't like what you find." She hung up, her hands shaking, and called David. He finally agreed to help, shaken by the threats. They met at Evelyn's house, searching for anything else the will might have missed. In the basement, they found a hidden panel behind a bookshelf. Inside was a small safe, the combination taped to the back of a photo of Evelyn and a young girl, maybe 10 years old, who looked nothing like Sarah or her cousins. David, frustrated, demanded answers. Who is this kid? Why did Grandma hide all this? Sarah didn't know, but she felt the walls closing in. Someone didn't want them finding Margaret Lane. Ever feel like you're one step away from a truth that could change everything? Let's see what happens when Sarah gets too close. You ever feel like you're holding a puzzle piece that could shatter everything you believe in? That's where Sarah was, standing in her grandmother's basement, a safe full of secrets staring back at her. The threats were real, the stakes were high, and the truth about her family was slipping out of reach. Welcome back to Shocking Stories, where we're about to uncover the final twist in a tale that broke a family apart. You ready for the shock of a lifetime? Because this one's going to hit hard. What would you do if you found out your family's legacy was built on lies? Sarah and David opened the safe, their hands trembling. Inside were documents, photos, and a single cassette tape labeled ML 1965. The documents were yellowed, detailing a trust fund set up in Margaret Lane's name, worth $50,000 at the time, hundreds of thousands in today's dollars. The photo showed Evelyn with the same young girl from the earlier picture, taken at different ages, up to her teens. The final document was a birth certificate for a Margaret Lane, born in 1955, listing Evelyn as the mother. Sarah's heart stopped. Evelyn had a daughter no one knew about. Margaret wasn't a stranger. She was Sarah's mother, David and Lisa's mother, hidden from them all their lives. But why? The cassette tape was their next clue. They found an old tape player in Evelyn's attic and played it. Evelyn's voice, younger but unmistakable, filled the room. Margaret, if you're hearing this, I'm sorry. I had to protect you from Vincent. He'll never stop looking. The tape described a night in 1964 when Evelyn, desperate for money, got involved in Vincent Russo's bank robbery. Something went wrong. A guard was hurt, and Evelyn fled, pregnant with Vincent's child. She gave Margaret up to protect her, sending her to a foster family 200 miles away in Savannah. The trust fund was Evelyn's way of ensuring Margaret's future, and the will was her final act of redemption. Sarah and David sat in silence, reeling. Their mother wasn't their mother. Evelyn was, and Margaret, their real mother, was out there. Sarah tracked down Margaret Lane, now 70, living quietly in a small town in Florida, about 400 miles from Atlanta. She agreed to meet, and Sarah drove down, her heart pounding. Margaret was frail but kind, her eyes mirroring Evelyn's. She told Sarah the truth. She'd grown up in foster care, never knowing her mother until Evelyn contacted her years later. Margaret had refused to reconnect, angry at being abandoned, but Evelyn left her the estate anyway, hoping to make amends. The threats Sarah received, they were from a distant cousin of Vincent Russo, still tied to his old network, trying to keep the past buried. Margaret had no idea about Sarah or her siblings. She thought Evelyn had no other children. The revelation hit Sarah like a freight train. Her entire life was a lie. Sarah returned to Atlanta. The family fractured. David was furious, feeling betrayed by Evelyn's secrets. Lisa, finally involved, sobbed, torn between grief and anger. They sold Evelyn's house, splitting the proceeds with Margaret, but the trust was gone. Sarah still keeps the diary, a reminder of the grandmother she loved and never truly knew. The scariest part, Vincent's cousin is still out there, and Sarah sometimes feels eyes on her, even now. So here's the question: what secrets are your family hiding? This is Shocking Stories, and we're just getting started. Hit that like button if this blew your mind, and subscribe for more jaw-dropping tales. Comment below, what would you do if you found out your family wasn't what it seemed? Share this video, because sometimes the truth is more shocking than fiction.